It's already set.
It's already. Did it already start?
Yeah.
It should have.
Do you need the speaker?
No.
It says it's okay.
Sure.
COMM 204, right?
204.
You put like the year.
It's just so white.
I can change the title after. Just for now. Okay, wait, Matthew, this is your computer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just like make sure you know this stuff so like next time you can do this.
You can get rid of all.
It's okay, it's okay. Oh, here. Why is it? Yeah, watch the code, watch the code.
Math was a lot bigger.
Okay, whatever. It's just like
Is this like even more than like the final?
okay. Yeah, I think it's good.
That's good.
Yeah, for the most part, it's fine. We can't do it. Oh shoot, not all caps.
Ewan, do you want to make the announcement or should I do it?
You can do it. Sometimes like I haven't. Your call.
Oh,
Okay. To start 6:05. It's okay. And then, do you know how to make a form midway through? You know, right? The form. So
Did you
Yeah, I made the template. So you make a copy. You rename it COMM 204. And then make sure you post the form, not the editing, because some people might be able to edit the form itself. So make sure that doesn't happen. Okay.
I'll look into it. Yeah, we'll look into it. Like the form.
You can start teaching if you want, because it's live. So you can
Yeah, that's
announce
fine.
what you want.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
Are you almost up?
Yeah. I'm just like making sure.
We'll just delay them for another 2 minutes.
This is posting. It's okay. I'll post my phone. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'll come back at 8, but you're free to go.
Okay.
You can set up.
You said you have a break in the middle.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
And
okay.
then come to
Do the
feedback.
feedback,
Yeah.
right? So I'll make a first like announcement thing, and then afterwards I'll pass it on to you.
Okay. So I'll just say.
Oh no, it's
where-
like right now I'll do the announcement, and then you can start. And then after that, just during the break.
Oh, okay, and then remind them again. Okay, so you start.
Okay. Skip them 1 more minute. Gotta know if they posted.
Like no table.
Oh. You're doing all this for.
I know.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. How are you guys doing today? If you're here for the CMP COMM 204 midterm review session, you're in the right place. How are you guys doing today? So, today our tutor Cindy will teach the review session, and we will be giving out a free $10 Starbucks gift card during the end of the review session. But what we require you to do is during the break that we're going to have, we'll be uploading a feedback form. If you fill out that feedback form, you'll be automatically entered for a chance to win. Okay, so we'll make a poll at the end, and we'll give this out. Now I'll pass it on to Cindy.
Okay, hi everyone. Again, my name is Cindy, and I'll be hosting the COMM 204 review session today. So this review session is kind of focused on McCormick's class, and something that I noticed was different about him was that he doesn't cover as much of the material that were tested previously on the midterm. So this midterm will be relatively easy, I can say. So there's 4 sections to my. This is McCormick. So you know how did you guys do the queuing? So that one won't be covered on the exam. But if you're not in McCormick's class, it might be covered. But I'm not sure because I only talked to McCormick. Yeah. Okay. So there's 4 sections. Are there any questions from what I just said? Or did you guys not know that queuing wasn't going to be on it? So there's 4 sections. You know the queuing, like with the arrival rate, stuff like that, that's not going to be covered on the exam. So like the really tough part that you guys, it should be like the past 2 lectures that you guys learned, past 2 weeks maybe, that's not going to be covered on the exam. Yeah. Yes. Pardon? Oh yeah, it should be on already. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna start. So there's gonna be 4 parts. The first is basic information. The second is process flow analysis, and then we have the multiple types of product process matrix, and then variability in processes, which will not be covered on the midterm. But if you guys want to stay, I can cover some of the questions here at the end. Okay, so we'll start with the basic information. This is 2 multiple choice questions. The first is the operation frontier diagram can be used to illustrate, and then the choices are as follows. And the second is, which of the following is a measure of efficiency? So I'll give you guys 5 minutes to kind of look at that, think of the answer, and then we'll come back. The choices are as follows. And the second is, which of the following is a measure of efficiency? So I'll give you guys 5 minutes to kind of look at that, answer. So number one is asking for the operations frontier. So we're just going to start by drawing the operations frontier here. So the y-axis will be quality. The x is cost. And just note that this one is opposite, so high is here and low is here, and I'll tell you why later on. Okay, so the operations frontier. It's basically the sum of all the existing practices at any given time, or the maximum value a company can create at a given cost. So I'll just write that down. It's basically the sum of all the existing practices at any given time, or the maximum value a company can create at a given cost. So I'll just write that. Okay, and there's three aspects. The number one is strategic positioning. And strategic positioning is basically from the firm's current position, define the relative ranking and importance of the competitive priorities of the company compared to other companies. So it gives you a kind of goals and focus towards where the company wants to go to. So you want the correct position. So it gives you a kind of goals and focus towards where the company wants to go to. So enlarge it. Is that okay? Just a little bit. So on the frontier, compare. For the comparators. Okay, and then second we have tactical issue. So tactical issue is basically just being excellent at what you do. So having a current position that is on the operations frontier. Okay, and then second we have tactical issue. So tactical issue is basically just being excellent at what you do. So having a current position that is on the operations frontier. Okay, and then lastly, we have operational effectiveness. And that is basically how the operation frontier can shift outward as new technology management resources develops. So that is basically how the operation frontier can shift outward as new technology management resources develop. Technology management skills improve. Okay. So we know that the operation frontier is where we want to be, and we know that there's always a trade-off. So for example, if this is A, this is B, say firm X is on A and firm Y is on B. So they're both equally effective, but notice that there's a trade-off. So firm like A could have higher cost and better quality, and B could be striving for lower cost but lower quality. So just know that everyone on the operation frontier are equally effective, but there's just a trade-off in how you want to approach these strategies. Okay, so number one, the answer would be E. Okay. Is everyone done copying, or can I move it? No? Okay, so I'm just gonna go, I'll just squish number two here. So number two, which of the following is a measure of efficiency? So we have days of inventory, capacity used over total capacity, and output over input.
Okay,
So number 1, days of inventory.
So number 2, which of the following?
It's also known as inventory turnover, and it's measured by how quickly a company is moving merchandise through the warehouse to the customers. So broadly speaking, the smaller number of days, the better, right?
Also known as inventory turnover, and it's measured by how quickly a company is moving merchandise through the warehouse to the customers. So broadly speaking, the smaller number of days, the
The
better.
more efficient.
Also known as
Okay, second, we have capacity used over total capacity. Okay, and this process basically shows process utilization, which is the extent to which the productive capacity of a business is being used. So this definitely measures
And this process
process
basically shows process utilization, which is the extent to which the productive capacity of a business is being used.
Okay, and then
So this
third, we
definitely
have
measures,
output over input.
and this process basically shows process
And we all know that this is a standard formula for productivity. It's an average measure of the efficiency of production.
and then there's
So
output
this is
over
the
input.
standard
And we
formula.
all know that this is a standard formula for productivity. It's an average measure of the efficiency of production.
Okay, and it's measured by comparing the amount of goods and services produced with the inputs which were used in the production, as you can tell from output over input.
An average measure of the efficiency.
So for number 2, all these are measures of efficiency. So the answer is all of the above.
With the inputs which were used in the production. So for number 2, all these are measures of efficiency. So the answer is all of the above.
Any questions so far? No? Okay, so we can move on to part 2. So part 2 consists of a true and false question and 2 short answer questions. So I'll give you guys, say 15 minutes to kind of look at those, see if you can figure it out. For number 2, this is very difficult to read, so there's a useful diagram here that you guys can use.
So I'll give you guys 15 minutes to kind of look at those, see if you can figure it out. For number 2, this is difficult to read, so there's a useful diagram that you guys can use. So I'll give you guys
Okay, sure. Is it that one? So hard to hear. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I don't know how to see. 2, number 1. So it's just 5 true and false questions. The first one says, if a process has 2 bottleneck resources, then the bottleneck resource must both have the same capacity rate. So is this true or false? So this question is true, and it is because the bottleneck is always the resource with the minimal capacity rate, right? So by minimal, we know that there can be only one. So bottleneck.
So is this true or false? So this question is true, and it is because the bottleneck is always the resource with the minimal capacity rate, right? So by minimal, we know that there can be only one.
So they must both have the same capacity rate. Number 2, oh sorry, this is A. The bottleneck resource, the non-bottleneck resource always gets idled for some time in any process. So this one is also true. And again, we know the bottleneck definition, so the unit load on the non-bottleneck resource, it always has to be smaller than the unit load of the bottleneck resource for the bottleneck resource to be a bottleneck, right? And this is also the cycle time.
And again, we know the bottleneck definition, so the unit load on the non-bottleneck resource, it always has to be smaller than the unit load of the bottleneck resource for the bottleneck resource to be a bottleneck, right? And this is also the cycle time. And again, we know the bottleneck definition.
So in each cycle, the non-bottleneck resource, yes, do have to get idled for some time. And then C, the only thing a manager of TELUS call center could do to reduce customers' waiting time is to recruit more telephone operators. Is that true or false? So this one we have to look at the OM triangle. And the OM triangle says that in order to improve capacity, you can improve inventory, information, or capacity. So this question is false. So in terms of inventory or information, the manager could get more information on the rate of the customer arrival rate or schedule more operators. Okay, so D, in any process, the flow time can be smaller than the cycle time. So this is false. We need to know the definitions of cycle time and flow time. So cycle time is basically the time spent on the bottleneck resource. So and then flow time is basically the time it takes for a unit to flow from the beginning to the end of the process. So unit flow from beginning to end, assuming that there's no wait time or downtime in between. So this means that the cycle time must always be smaller than or equal to the flow time, because the cycle time is incorporated in the flow time.
So this means that the cycle time must always be smaller than or equal to the flow time.
Okay, so flow time is basically the time it takes for C. Okay, so C is about the TELUS operator, right? Okay, yeah. So what this question is asking is to refer back to the OM triangle. So the OM triangle says that if you want to improve efficiency, you can target these 3 areas. So whether get more information, improve inventory, or improve capacity.
So what this question is asking is to refer
Any other questions?
OM triangle. So the OM triangle says that if you want to improve efficiency, you can target these 3 areas. So whether get more information.
And then E is the long run average input rate cannot be smaller than the long run average output rate. Although it is possible that the short run input rate be smaller than the short run output rate when there is positive inventory. Okay. So this one is true because in the short run, if output rate is bigger than input rate, insurance group offers both homeowners insurance and auto insurance. The manager of the company states that around 60% of the applicants want homeowners insurance and the others, so which is 40%, want auto insurance. The flow of the process is, so a homeowner's insurance application consists of two types, B2, which applies to the homeowner, and B3, which relates to the property. Upon receipt, each application is separated to B2 and B3. The operation activity A1 is done by Tom and takes 15 minutes. B2 is by Alex, 24 minutes, and so on. So this is shown in the diagram here. Okay. So A asks, what is the theoretical flow time for an auto insurance application? So we can see that, like the question said, 60% goes into homeowner, 40% of the application is for auto. So the theoretical flow time of the auto insurance, it's basically just this one process here. So it's just 20 minutes. And again, the theoretical flow time is the amount of time it takes for the application to flow from beginning to end, assuming there's no waiting. So this is the 20 minutes there. For B, it's more complicated because they get separated to B2 and B3. So there are two paths. The first path is A1 to A2 to A4. Sorry, A1 to B2. Sorry, no. So the first one is A1 to A2 to A4, as you can tell by these here. That's the first path. And what we do is just, we just add it. So 15 plus 25 plus 20. And that equals 60 minutes. The second path, we have A1 to A3 to A4. So A1, A3, and A4. And again, we're adding up the time. So it's 15 plus 15 plus 20. And that equals 50 minutes. And because 60 minutes of the first path is bigger than the 50 minutes of the second path, we know that the 60 minutes, this one will take longer. So when this one is done, it still has to wait for this one to complete. So path 1 will become the critical path. And so the theoretical flow time would be the 60 minutes. What is the capacity of the homeowner's insurance given its current product mix? So we know that the homeowner insurance is more complicated because there's 4 different people doing the process. So we need to find, so the resources we have are Tom, Alex, Tina, and Richard. So we know that first we have Tom. Tom's capacity is 15 minutes. But we also know that only 60% of the applications go in the homeowner's insurance. So what we have to do is we have to times his 15 minutes by the 60%, which will give him a unit load of 9 minutes. So that's how fast we can talk.
So what we have to do is
And for Alex, we do the same thing. So Alex is 25 minutes. So 25 times 0.6 equals 15 minutes.
so that's how fast.
So that means he's processing one application every 15
And
minutes.
for Alex, we do the same thing. So Alex is 25.
So for Tina, it's a bit different because Tina is doing something here and also doing the auto insurance.
So that means he's processing one application.
So what we do, she's using 15 minutes here and 20 minutes here. So we do 15 times 60% for the homeowner's insurance plus 20 minutes times the 40% for the auto insurance. And this leads to 17 minutes. Okay, and finally we have Richard. It's just the same thing. He uses 20 minutes and he's only part of the homeowner's insurance. So it's just 20 minutes. 20 minutes times 0.6, which equals 12 minutes. So we want to know how many applications they can process per hour, right? So that's what we call unit capacity. And it's in applications
So we want to know
per
how many
hour.
applications they can process per hour, right? So that's what we call unit.
So we know that there's 60 minutes in an hour. So for Tom, it's just 60 divided by, he processes each at 9 minutes, which equals to 6.67 applications per hour.
So we know that there's 60.
Same with Alex, so it's just 60 divided by 15, which equals 4
4
applications per hour.
9 minutes, which equals to 6.6.
And then we have 16 divided by 17, which equals 3.53 applications per hour. And then 60 divided by 12 is 5 applications. So we want to find the person that's the slowest here, right? Who's the bottleneck, who processes the least given the unit of time. So that person would be Tina. So out of all these numbers, the 3.53 is the smallest.
So we want to find the person that's the slowest here. Who's the bottleneck who processes the least given the unit of
So
time.
therefore, the capacity, the answer to the question is just the 3.53
So out of all these numbers,
applications per hour. Yeah.
So therefore, the capacity, the answer to the question is just the 3.5.
Sorry, say that again. So in this case, like the products is the applications, right? Is that what you're saying? So it's dependent on the resources. It's dependent on the workers who are working on the process, right? Yeah.
So in this case, like the products is the application.
So
So it's dependent on
D, what is the bottleneck? Well, the bottleneck is the person that's the slowest, right? So it's just Tina, and we know this from the previous question.
like the products is the application. So it's dependent on the resource. What is the bottleneck? Well, the bottleneck is the person that's the slowest, right? So it's just Tina, and we know this from the previous question.
Okay, and then the question says, the manager of the insurance company believes that there is more demand to be served even though the firm is operating on capacity. And there were two options. He can either shorten the time to do A3 by 2 minutes or shorten the time to do A5 by 2 minutes. So which one would you recommend and why? Okay, so we know that we need to target Tina because she's the slowest one. So for the first option is to shorten A3.
So we know that to target
So they want to shorten A3 to 2 minutes, right? So Tina's unit load becomes 0.2, 0.6, so 60% times 2 equals 1.2 minutes. The second option is to shorten A5.
So Tina, it becomes unit load
So shorten A5 is also to 2 minutes. So 40%, because A5 is on the auto insurance section. So 0.4 times 2 minutes, which equals 0.8 minutes. Okay, and we also so we know that shortening A5 because 0.2 is smaller than 0.2 minutes. We know that we want to pick A5. It will result in the biggest increase in the bottleneck.
So we know that shortening A5 because 0.2 is smaller than 0.2 minutes. We know that we want to pick A5.
Okay, so we want to shorten. The manager believes that there is more demand. The two options are right. Okay, so you can either shorten by, okay, sorry, one sec. Okay, so there's one more part to this question. Okay, so we know that A3 as of now is 15 minutes, right? So if you shorten it by 2 minutes, it turns into 13 minutes. That makes sense, right? And then the unit load of Tina in total will equal to 13 times 0.6 plus 20 times 0.4 equals 15.6. That makes sense? That's just how we calculated Tina's unit capacity before. So it's just the 60% and the 40%, and the 13 is from her new the time that she takes. Yeah. Okay, and then for A5, if you shorten A5, A5 was originally 20 minutes. This turns into 18 minutes. So then it becomes 15 times 0.6 plus 18 times 0.4 equals 16.2 minutes. So this one will shorten Tina's unit load by 1.2 minutes. This one shortens by 0.8 minutes. And this is what we got from here. So sorry. So it should be 3.85 is bigger than 3.70. So shortening, or sorry, 1.2 is bigger than 0.8. So shortening A5 would be better. Sorry, not A3, because yeah, it would have the bigger. this one is bigger than, yeah, you're right. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, sorry, 38. Yeah, because this one is bigger than. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so for number 3, bread making at Richmond Bakery consists of the following process. The dough goes through either one of 2 parallel 3-step processes and then merge into a single line for the final step. Capacities are shown on the diagram below, so this diagram
Okay,
here.
so for number 3,
So what is the current capacity of the entire process?
bread making at Richmond Bakery consists of the following process. The dough goes through either one of 2 parallel 3-step processes and then merge into a single line for the final step. Capacities are shown on the diagram below, so this diagram here. So what is the current capacity of the entire process? Bread making at Richmond Bakery consists of the following process.
So we know that the capacity of the entire process depends on the bottleneck, and we know that there are 2 parallel steps here. So the bottleneck of the first 1, 2, 3 would be the smallest capacity, right? So that's number 2 at 17 per hour. For the second process, the smallest between 18, 11, and 12 is the 11, so step 5 has the smallest.
And we know
So
that there
this
are 2 parallel steps
area can be
here.
considered as a
So
single
the
step,
bottleneck of the first
since they're operating in
1, 2,
parallel to
3
each
would
other.
be the smallest.
So we know that the capacity of this
number
entire
2
step
at
is just 17 plus 11, which equals
For the
28.
second process, the smallest between 18, 11, and 12 is the 11, so step 5 has the smallest.
And between 28, 38, and 40, we know that 28 is the smallest, so it's has the minimum capacity, so it's the bottleneck. So the first one is just 28 per hour.
And between 28, 38, and 40, we know that 28 is the smallest, so it's has the minimum capacity, so it's the bottleneck. So the first one is just.
And again, what is the bottleneck? So the bottleneck is the portion of the production chain that produces the least and limits how much the entire process produces, right? So in steps 1 to 3, the bottleneck would be the 17, so step 2. And in steps 4, 5, 6, the bottleneck is the 11.
And again, what is the bottleneck? So the bottleneck is the portion of the production chain that produces the least and limits how much the entire process produces.
Okay, so see if the logistics manager can increase the capacity of only one operation. Oh yeah,
Steps 4, 5,
go ahead.
6, the bottleneck is the 11. And again, what is the bottleneck? So the bottleneck is the portion of the production chain that produces
6, the bottleneck is 11.
the entire process. And so see if the logistics
Because they're in
manager
parallel.
can increase the
Yeah.
capacity of only one operation.
Oh yeah. Oh, I get what you mean. Yeah. So in this one, sorry, that was my explanation. So this one is 17 per hour. This one is 11 per hour. So we would look at the smaller one.
If the bottleneck is 11.
So if they ask you what's the time of the bottleneck, then it would be 11
Yeah.
because they're way bigger than
I get what
the
you mean. Yeah.
11.
So in this one, sorry, that was my explanation. So this one is 17 per hour. This one is 11 per hour. So we would look at the smaller one. The bottleneck is 11. So if they ask you
For 8, no, because they're in parallel, so we consider them as a one step. So we do 17 plus 11.
so
Because when this step is going on, this one is also producing. Yeah.
for 8, no, because they're in parallel. So we consider them as a one step. So they're 17 plus 11. Because when this step is going on, this one is
It's because
also
so they have to. Oh, I see what you mean.
It's because
17 per hour, 11 per hour. Okay, I get what you mean. Yeah, you can look at it like that. Because the 11, because if we're considering as a whole process, right? So I'm just saying if you add it together, it's 28. It's also smaller than this one, so it doesn't really matter. You can say if you look at them as single processes, then it's 11. But if you look at this as one step, then it's 5. 11, they're both minimum, so it's just 11.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Oh no, you would. Because you can only have one minimum capacity, right? So if they're both 11, they're both minimum, so it's 11. Any other questions? Oh no, you would. Because you can only have one minimum capacity, right? So if they're both 11, they're both minimum, so it's 11.
Okay, so for for C, if the operations manager can increase the capacity of only one operation through process improvement efforts, which operation would he select? How much additional capacity would he strive for? And what would be the resulting capacity of the process?
So for number
So again, we always want to increase the capacity of the bottleneck.
the operations
So we know that in steps 1, 2, 3,
through process improvement efforts, which operation would you select? How much additional capacity would you
it
strive
means that
for?
we want to change the 17 hours
So for number
to 20 hours. So we want it to align with the next bottleneck. Or else if we change this one, it's not changing the bottleneck, right? If we increase it to more than 20, the bottleneck will still be 20.
It means that we want to change the 17 hours.
Okay, and then the resulting capacity would just be the 20 plus the 11 here, which equals 31 per
Or
hour.
else if we change this one, it's not changing the
In
bottleneck.
steps 3, 4, 5, again, we want to target the bottleneck, so the 11 per hour. We want to change it to the next highest, so 12 per hour. And this would turn into 17 per hour plus 12 per hour, which equals 29 per hour.
We want to change it to the next highest, so 12 per hour.
Okay, and then because this one would result in an increase of more capacity, I would choose this step here. Three, four, oh sorry, 4, 5, 6, yeah. Steps 4, 5, 6. Any questions so far?
4, 5, 6. Steps 4, 5, 6.
Sorry? Part B? Oh, so if you want to, I would say if you want to look at it as a series, this entire part would be the bottleneck. But if you want to look at them as different, then it would be the 5, step 5.
Sorry?
You can just start assuming that
So
it'll
if you want to...
just write it like that. I don't think he'll make it that complicated, that he'll have 2 parallel processes. This is just a more challenging question. Any other questions yet?
I don't think he'll make it that complicated, that he'll have 2 parallel processes.
17 to 20, yeah. Yeah, that's what we did, isn't it? Any other questions? Okay, so we're gonna take a 10-minute break. I think there's a survey up on the website, on the CMP website.
explanation again?
The
Yeah.
long run input. Okay,
You
so
say the average output cannot be bigger than input rate, right? That's
Mhm.
why it's false.
Mhm.
But could it be the same? Like the input rate is equal to the output
yeah, that's
rate?
okay. It depends on how much inventory you have.
Okay.
Okay, so if your inventory perfectly covers the output rate, then that would be
Okay, so like, and then like normal and long run, is it usually equal to make the maximum profit? Like, or it really depends?
in the long run, is it? Sorry, in the long run.
Like, so in the long run, so the input rate is usually equal to the output rate? Or
input rate is usually equal to the
what's
output. It
the-
depends on the
it
rate,
depends?
right? Yeah.
Okay, and also I was just wondering how you got the thing right here. Like, where did the 20 come from?
Okay, so you know that in steps 1, 2, 3, the bottleneck is the 17, right? So we want to improve the bottleneck, obviously. And we know, as compared to these other numbers, if we improve 17, say by like a lot, say by like 10,
Yeah.
it turns into 27.
Yeah.
But in that case, if this becomes 27, this one will be the bottleneck.
Okay.
So the bottleneck will always be the next highest if you want to change this
So
one.
we should not. Oh, I see.
So this one will be going to 20, right?
equal to the.
Yeah, so it'll turn to 20 and these ones will equal.
Oh,
Even if you change it to like higher, it'll still be the 20.
Oh, I see.
That's why.
Oh, okay, got it. Thank you.
We have the same question actually, like, how to get 20
The 20?
plus
Okay, okay. So we look at this. So say we increase 17 by say a random number, right? By like 10. So from 17 it turns into 27 per hour. And then if we compare 20, 27, and 21, the 20 is the bottleneck. So no matter what, no matter how much you increase 17, you want it to be the next highest. So you want it to be the 12. Yeah. So even if you increase it by like 2, it turns into 19. So 19 will be the bottleneck. But you can increase it by more. So you can increase it by 20. So 20 will be no matter what. Yeah. So same with this. No matter how much you increase 17.
Oh, okay, so if they would make an improvement, they would make it in process, the above process?
Yeah, you want to see, because there's a bottleneck in this process and there's a bottleneck in this process.
Right.
So you want to see how much you can improve.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know how in the end we compared it? So it's better to improve the 1, 2, 3.
Right.
Because it has the bigger. Yeah, you want to see if there's a bottleneck in this process and this process. Okay,
I have, why are there two different bottlenecks to
Okay, so I think her question confused everyone. So there should be, in this question, there's not a clear bottleneck. If you want to really specify bottleneck, you can look at these individually. So 1, 2, 3, the bottleneck would be 2, right? 4, 5, 6, the bottleneck would be 11.
But wouldn't like the entire process be constrained by 11? Because like say there's a flow unit going through here, right? It has to wait for the flow unit to come through here before they together. So would it? So in any case,
Oh, I get what you mean. Yeah, it
number-
would be the 11.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want, yeah. Exactly.
So both could be right.
It just depends on if you see this as like a whole and then these ones as individual. So I'm saying the capacity here is the 28.
So just depending on the question.
Yeah, it depends on the question. It's a bit confusing.
Thank you.
It just depends on if you see this as like a whole and then these ones as individual. So I'm saying the capacity here is the 28. Yeah.
I was wondering, like, why do you put your capacity as 28 now?
28. Okay, so are you confused? Because a lot of people have been asking why it's 28 and not 11.
No,
Is that where you're confused?
no.
You're just confused as to why it's
Yeah, I'm just,
Okay.
like, I just don't understand why the current capacity is right now.
Okay. Okay, so you know in these, so since these two steps perform in parallel, right? We can see it as one single step.
Yeah.
That makes sense? Okay, and these are two separate steps. So we know the capacity here is the lowest, so it's the 17 per hour. I mean the bottleneck, it's the 17 per hour. Bottleneck is always the one in the right? And then here it's also the same, so it will be the 11 per hour. Yeah, so if we add them together, they're producing a total of 28 per hour.
Okay.
So at this point, they would have finished 28 per hour. I mean the bottleneck.
So current capacity is the bottleneck also.
Yeah, so current capacity would be how much you can produce given the time constraint.
Given the time constraint.
Yeah, so because
what's the
this one
time
produces
constraint?
the least, so per hour.
Wow.
Because this one produces the least, and this one needs this one to feed it the products before it can start producing. So it would be limited by the time.
But this one is rated. No, this one is rated. Since it finishes faster, this one is rated. So why would they have to wear it?
Why would they have Oh, I see why everyone. Okay, it's because there's two different. So there's a different product in here and a different product going through here, and then together they make something that goes through here.
Oh, which means like it's not the same process with parallel.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
a
It's
whole
different processes.
Okay, so you said the trend was the last one. So why is it true? As in, like, why can't the long run average increase?
Long run average input rate. Cannot be smaller than the long run average. Okay, so in the long run, we have infinite number of inventory, right? We might not even have any inventory.
Wait, is inventory the ones that we haven't used to process?
Yeah, so it's like what we have in storage,
Okay.
for example. Yeah, so we can't, the long run average input rate cannot be smaller than the long run average output rate in the long run. That's because we don't have enough inventory.
In the long run, we do not have enough.
We definitely do not have enough. But in the short run,
That
we
means
do
that there's
have
always
enough.
more to give in, like input and the output. Is that correct?
There's more to, yes.
Okay, and it says in the short run, so in the short run, it is possible to have inventory, like in the store. But then why would the short run input rate be smaller than the output rate?
Although it is possible that the short run input rate is smaller.
Is that a question about the long run, right?
Yeah. Wait, true for long.
It's false.
No, it's true.
Oh, sorry.
Let me just check my answer key one sec.
Wasn't E is false, right? The answer.
No, it's true.
Really?
Well, she wrote
Yeah, it's
just
true,
now.
it's true.
But
Okay, so Zula?
but the problem is our instructor mentioned in classes the long run input would never be able to bigger than long run output because if it's in that input and output. Sorry, it's not the capacity.
Okay, so look, in the short run, if output rate is bigger than input rate, right, we don't have enough because the input rate is smaller. So the rest is from inventory. But in the long run, we don't have enough inventory, or we might not have any inventory. So the long run average output cannot be larger than the long run average input. Because we don't have enough to give out.
Wait, so in the short run, if the output rate is more than... So when you said that was output rate is more than input rate, does that mean that inventory makes up part of the output?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Because you'll be selling inventory
okay, no, yeah,
instead of making
because I
new
thought
products.
of inventory as the ones that are like completely unprocessed, like raw material to be processed. That's
Oh,
why I
okay,
thought that they should
no.
be
They're
processed.
already finished goods.
Okay, yeah, that's why I got confused. Okay, so inventory would be finished goods.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they can, you can sell them. So,
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
I have a question about these process, like when it's 60%, it will go to here, but wouldn't we split into half because
yeah, so that's why we looked at A2.
yeah, so A2, I mean, you do 60% times this for the utilization.
Yeah, for 25.
But wasn't that like half of the customer allocate 60 would choose this, and half of this would choose that?
Oh, I see what you mean. That's a good question. I think it's because these ones are again in parallel.
In parallel?
Yeah, so you kind of have to
But
see them as
in parallel, but like how in parallel? Because we either do this and do that, right? It's parallel. You cannot do both of them.
okay, so you have to look at these as separate because this one is Alex, this one is Tina.
Yeah. Yeah. So for Alex, what for example, if you have 100 customers and 60 of them they are going to separate, right? And then what actually Alex got is only 30 of the customers. So the customer rate is
Oh, I
lower
see what
than
you
the
mean. No, I think it's still the 60. It goes through here, and then the same thing also goes through there. So say they like photocopy twice of the 60, and then some goes through here and some goes through here.
So
Like these two processes both have to be applied to the 60.
why? Like wasn't that they got utilized? 60.
The 60% goes through, and then so there's 60 applications here.
Yeah, and then 60 applications here, and then what after they separate them, like 30 goes through here, 30 goes through here. So
Okay, I mean separate as like not like half the applicants.
okay.
As in like the application has to go through this process and this process.
Oh, all of them?
Yeah.
Why?
It's just how the question
The
is
question
framed.
wasn't
The
that they
question.
says that like they go to there and then they separate them and then either they choose B2 or they choose B2.
Okay, I think this question is confusing
It's
because
really-
of that. Yeah.
It's
So just imagine that it's,
They-
you have to go through both
Both?
processes. Yeah. Instead of like separate.
Is the midterm is gonna be on Friday?
No, I think I made this one a bit too hard for the midterm.
Oh.
These were actually my assignment questions. I had a different thought than McCormick. I think McCormick will be much easier.
I have
Oh, you don't have
have
I had annual class.
I have another his name.
Are you guys going to be tested on like the QE?
Yeah, we are.
Oh,
I think so.
Okay.
Still a quick question. Like, why long run averaging per camera is smaller than
Okay, so I'll show you my answer. Okay, so in the short run, if the output rate is bigger than input rate, so there's more demand, for example, that we produce. So we want to use the inventory to satisfy the demand. But in the long run, the inventory is finite, so we don't have enough inventory. There might be zero inventory or no inventory. So in the long run average output cannot be larger than the long run average input rate because we don't have enough to do.
So in the short run, the output rate would be bigger than the input rate. So the rest is
From inventory. So whatever that you're missing is from inventory.
inventory. Yeah. But why in the long run the inventory is what I don't
In the long run, it's because you used all the inventory in the short run, for example. You know the demand now, so you won't produce more than you need. So there's no inventory.
So you already know the short run demand?
For example, okay, in the short run you don't know, but in the long run you can like extrapolate or something, so you know the demand. You have more or less inventory or no inventory.
Okay. So that could be inventory, but over the long run, we already know enough information
About demand.
about the demand. So here it's impossible to have the inventory.
Yeah.
Is that the
Yeah. Yeah. That's basically it. You wouldn't say it's impossible to have inventory, it's just you know enough about the demand that you won't allow there to be inventory. Because inventory is so
So over the long run, we already have enough information about the demand.
yeah. Exactly.
But here's for the queuing one, right? I'm confused with queuing because the queuing one is the input rate has to be smaller than the capacity rate over the long run. Because if it makes one bigger than that, that would be like gradually.
In the long run.
Yeah.
Input rate has to be
Oh,
smaller.
which means the input rate has to be smaller than the output
Yeah,
rate.
exactly. Okay, so for those who are done break, you guys can start taking a look at the third question here. So it basically asks you to match A, B, C, D, E, F, G to put it in this table here, and then some questions about flow shop and job shops. Okay, so for those who are done break, you guys can start taking a look at the third question here. So it basically asks you to match A, B, C, D, E, F, G to put it in this table here, and then some questions about flow shop and job shops. Okay, so for those who are done break, you guys can start taking a look at the third question here. So it basically asks you to match A, B, C, D, need to differentiate between the different processes. So first we have job shop. Job shop examples are, say, custom metal processing shop, hospital rooms. So here, these are examples. Hospital rooms.
So first we need to differentiate between the different processes. So first we have job shop.
Cabinets, for example.
Job
So
shop
the key
examples
here
are,
is
say,
customization.
metal processing shop, hospital rooms.
So that means there's high variety
So first we need to
and low volume.
So first we have job shop. Cabinets, for example.
So you typically make process to order. So a customer would say, different customers would come to them to make a certain type of product.
So that means there's high variety.
So, and low volumes to order.
So you typically make the process to order. So a customer would say, different customers would come to them to make a certain type of product. So that means there's high variety.
Okay, so there's typically no inventory because they make products to order. Second, we have batch. So batch are produced in batches. Examples include maybe clothing, cars. So they're usually produced in an assembly line.
Second, we have batch. So batch
There's a more narrow range of services than job shop. Again, because the assembly line is made to produce a single type of product, right? And there are many components produced in advance.
than job shop.
So for example, in the terms of cars, the wheels could be produced in advance. Third, we have flow shop. Okay, so flow shops include stuff like appliances, toys, computers. So very standardized production. Which means that they can produce very high volume. And usually, due to this very high volume, their resources, so their machineries are usually organized around that product.
Which means that they can produce very high volume.
Around product. And again, there's little variability in the products.
So their machineries are usually organized around that product.
Standardized.
And again, there's little variability in the product. So their machineries are usually organized around that.
Okay, number 4, we have extreme form of the flow, which is called continuous flow process. And this is different from flow because they usually just use raw materials.
And again, there's little
So examples are like milk, usually food items.
We have extreme form of the flow, which is called continuous flow process. And this is different from flow because
So this is super high volume.
So examples are like milk
and rigid lines of production.
usually food items. We have extreme form of the flow, which is called continuous flow process. And this is different
And usually they are very capital intensive, so they need lots of machinery to support the high volume. Okay, and again, there's raw materials, so there's usually only one primary material that is used, as compared to the flow form of job shop. So for example, construction, planning a major event.
So projects are an extreme form of job shop.
And they're extreme because it's usually just one time. So very unique.
So for example, construction.
So it'll be high customization.
And they're extreme because it's usually just one time.
And extremely low volume. So usually just one. And usually a large pool of resources are dedicated.
And extremely low volume. So usually just one. And usually a large
So A and B, we have milk and strawberries. So they would be considered food items. So continuous flow process. So milk, strawberries. It's a raw material, and obviously there's only one material that is
milk
used.
and strawberries. So they would be considered food items. So continuous flow process. So milk,
C, we have Rolls-Royce cars.
a raw material.
So I would say those are job shop.
So they would be considered food items.
Because there's high customization and low volume. Then we have bakery. So bakery, I would say, or the bread produced in a bakery would be batch.
So I would say those are job
Because obviously they don't produce as much as, say, continuous flow process because they have to sell all the bread in one day, right? So it would be a bakery. And there's somewhat a batch.
Then we have bakery. So bakery, I would say, or the bread produced in a bakery would be batch.
Boeing airplanes would also be job shop.
Because obviously they don't produce as much as, say, continuous flow process.
Again,
because they have to sell
there's low volume, but different sizes, different varieties.
a bakery. And there's somewhat a batch.
Yeah.
So bakery, I would say, or the bread produced in a bakery would be batch. Boeing airplanes would
Batch.
also be job shop.
Sorry, batch. Oh, I see what you mean. It would be batch, low volume, high variety.
Oh, I see what you mean. It would be batch, low volume, high
And then we have McKinsey Consulting Projects, so that's obviously under projects. It's just one of a kind, usually for a specific client. And then automobile assembly lines would be,
And then we have McKinsey Consulting Projects,
would be
so that's
flow shop.
obviously under projects. It's just one of a kind, usually
Yeah.
for a specific client. And then automobile assembly lines
Oh, sorry, yeah, it's batch.
would be
Sorry.
And then we have McKinsey Consulting Projects, so that's obviously under projects. It's just one of a kind, usually for a specific And then automobile assembly lines.
Oh, sorry, yeah, it's batch. Sorry. says differentiate flow shop and drop shop in terms of first is variable production cost.
So next it says
So flow would have low and job would have high. This because flow shop produces many units, so they are able to reach economies of scale. And because this has high variety, it will have higher variable costs.
This because flow shop produces many units, so they are able to reach economies of scale.
Number 2, we have labor specialization.
And because this has high variety, it will have higher variable costs.
Flow shop would have high labor specialization because everyone is specialized in a specific process.
Number 2, we have labor specialization.
And job shop would have low labor specialization. It's usually highly skilled workers doing multiple tasks for multiple different types of
Flow shop
products.
would have high labor specialization because everyone is specialized in a specific process. And job shop
And
would
then
have
third, we have the size of facilities.
highly skilled workers doing multiple tasks for multiple.
So for the flow, there's usually large plants due to the large number of units. For job, it's usually small facilities.
Flow, there's usually large plants due to the large number of units.
Okay, number 4, we have flow time.
For job, it's usually small facilities.
So for flow, the flow time is usually very short because you have highly automated process. And high labor specialization. So it'll make the process faster. For job, it's the opposite. It'll be very long. And this is just due to there's specific items produced instead of all the same items.
So it'll make the process faster. For job, it's the opposite. It'll be very long.
Number 5, we have volume. This one's obvious. Flow would have large amount of volume, and job would have small.
Number 5, we have volume. This one's obvious. Flow would have large amount of volume, and job would have small.
Number 6, we have product variety. So flow would have small product variety because there will be large items of usually the same things, and then job would have large product variety.
So flow would have small product variety because there will be.
Then we have work in process inventory.
And job would have large product variety.
So for flow, there's usually, again, like we said before, shorter flow time. So usually the inputs are processed very fast. So there's low levels of work in process inventory.
For flow, there's usually, again, like we said before, shorter.
And it's the opposite for job because they'll have longer flow time, so a lot of it will be tied up in work in process.
So there's
So
low
it'll be
levels
high levels.
of work in process inventory. For flow, there's usually, again, like we said before, shorter.
Okay,
The opposite for job because they'll
number
have
8.
longer flow time, so a lot
and 9, automation and capital investment. So these are around the same, capital investment, automation. You can use it hand in hand. So usually job cost is general purpose equipment. And it's usually specialization is in terms of labor, so there's low automation. Low automation.
So usually job cost is general purpose equipment.
It's different for flow because they're always producing the same product, so it'll be expensive equipment that are very specialized. So automation and capital investment would be high.
Different for flow because they're always producing the same product, so it'll be expensive equipment that are very specialized. So automation and capital investment would be high. Different for flow because they're always producing the same product, so it'll be expensive equipment that are very specialized.
Okay, so that concludes the material that will be covered on McCormick's midterm. So I think the students in McCormick's class can either leave or you can stay. I can also go over the variability and processes for those who are not in McCormick's class. Is that okay? Yeah.
Okay, so
Oh yeah, and for those who haven't filled out the survey,
So I think the students in the class can either leave or you can stay. I can also go over the variability and processes for those who are not in the class. Okay, so for those who haven't filled out the survey.
Alright. So before some of you start leaving, the winner today is Rebecca Lau. So
depends on how the professor works the question. If the professor says, oh, you know the demand is a long run, then you can say, yeah, it'll be equal, because they'll know it.
But the thing is, the input rate would never be bigger than long run output.
Long run cannot be smaller than output. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, because you don't have inventory, right?
Yeah, we don't have inventory in the long run. And then why the input rate is bigger than the long run average output if we don't have inventory. Cannot be smaller, which means bigger. That's why the average if the input rate is bigger than the output,
I see what you mean.
which means there must be an inventory.
Okay, let me think about that.
This is
I'll
really
get back. Yeah, this question is confusing. Let me get back to you after.
So I have a question. Do you use vowels as including the root?
I'm not actually only know much format, but I know usually professors include the queuing.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not sure. You should ask that email.
Okay, thank you.
Are you? Yeah. Okay, for like Florida State. Okay, so I'm gonna go over the variability and processes for those who don't have McCormick. So number one, we'll just go through this fast. So true or false? According to Little's law, the inventory equals the product of the throughput rate and the flow rate at any time. Okay, so I'm gonna go over the variability and processes for those who don't have McCormick. So number one, so we know that the formula for Little's law is I equals RT and the flow rate at any time. And this is inventory. For average number of items in a system. R is the average arrival rate. And T is the average wait time in the system. So usually for A, it would be true. But I'm going to go over a special case where it would be false. So remember that if the professor can be really nitpicky, he can really focus on this, the phrase at any time. So in remember that Little's law is for long run averages. So in the short run, this formula does not necessarily hold. And this because, for example, if a shop opens at 9 a.m., but before 9 a.m., customers are already waiting outside the shop to go in. So then the throughput rate before 9 a.m. would be 0. Then by Little's law, the inventory, this has to be 0. But there are customers waiting. So because this is 0, one of these has to be 0, right? For this. But none of them can be 0 because there are customers waiting in line. So this is only at any time. If he really wants to trick you guys, this question would actually be false. But if he says short run, it would be true. But if it's in the long run, it would be false. Okay, so number 2, you're the owner of a hot dog stand that sells hot dogs to drivers running home from work on the Highway 99. You have a choice of spending money on inventory, capacity, or information. What are some of the factors that you need to take into account in choosing which parameter to spend the most resources on? So again, this deals with the OM triangle. It's a very qualitative question. So for inventory, it's basically concerned with the customer wait time. You're scared that they'll be frustrated if the line is very long, for example. Next we have capacity, so that's another corner of the OM triangle. So you want to consider if you hire another grill, another worker or new griller, you can increase capacity. Meaning that you can cook up a larger number of hot dogs. Lastly, we have information. So information is just getting more information out of the customer. So for example, you can have people pre-order their burgers on the road, for example, using their phone, having people pre-order burgers. So this way, customers can fill in exactly what they want before they actually arrive at the hot dog stand, and this would improve the capacity. Okay, so for number 3, you're the employee of Liftopia, a dating service that offers blind dates in its store locations. Your manager has assigned you to the task of finding the reason for the growing number of customer complaints. You have a hunch that it might be the long lineups. Suppose the average service time is 3 minutes per customer and that 15 customers arrive every hour on average. In response to the manager, do you think the line is likely to be very long or very short? So we know that the service time is 3 minutes. So we can calculate the processing rate by 60 divided by 3 equals 20 customers per hour. And we know that the customer arrival rate is 15 customers per hour. So if you use the utilization formula, it's P over customer arrival rate over the service rate, which give us 15 over 20, which equals 75%. And from here, we can calculate the average queue length. I think the formula for that is p squared over 1 minus p. So this is 0.72 squared over 1 minus 0.75.
And from here we can calculate the average length. I think the formula for that is squared over 1 minus
Oh yeah. They're all these questions are assuming exponential
1 minus.
and Poisson distribution. Yeah. Okay, so this would equal 2.25 customers, which means the line is short.
So all these questions are assuming exponential and Poisson distribution. Okay, so this would equal 2.25 customers, which means the line is short.
Okay, so for the last question, a McDonald's drive-through vehicles arrive at a rate of 10 per minute. Assume that there is only one lane and one employee who can serve vehicles at a rate of 12 per minute in an exponentially distributed fashion. So A, what would be the average length of the waiting line?
A McDonald's drive-through vehicles arrive at a rate of 10 per minute. Assume that there is only one lane and one employee.
So we know that this is a one server queue. And we know that the arrival rate is 10 vehicles per minute. 10 vehicles per minute. And the service rate is 12 vehicles per minute.
We know that the arrival rate is 10 and the service rate is 12 vehicles per minute.
So A asks for the average length of the waiting line. The formula is over. Okay, and you just have to plug in the numbers. This will equal to 12 minus 10 equals 4.17 vehicles in line.
And you just have to plug in the numbers. So A equals 4.17 vehicles in line.
Okay, for B, what is the average time that a vehicle must wait to get through the system? So first you need to find out what's the average number of customers being served. The formula here is this. And again, you have to plug in the numbers. So that's 10 over 12 minus 10 equals 5 customers.
So first you need to
Or 5
find out
vehicles.
what's the average number of customers being served.
And to find the average time spent at the server, we need to apply the Little's law. So the Little law states that. And again, we know the 5 customers divided by the 10 equals 0.5 minutes.
And to find the average time spent at the server, we need to apply the Little's law. So the Little's law states
Yeah.
that. And again, we know the 5 customers divided by the.
To get through the system, as in like the server. Yeah.
And to find the average time spent at the server, we need to apply the Little's law. So the Little's law states that.
Okay, and then C, utilization. We all know it's just 10 over 12, which equals 83.33%. Okay, and then for D is a bit complicated. I'm not sure. Yeah. Yeah. I'm saying how long it takes to get through the server. Like to get service. Before, I'm not sure what. What would be the average
I'm saying
time?
how long it takes.
Okay, let me get through D first before I answer that. Okay, so what is the probability that when you arrive there will be 3 or more vehicles ahead of you? So I'm not sure if you guys covered this in class, but the formula for probability is as follows.
Okay, let me get through D first before I
Over N being the number
what's
of
the probability
units
that when you arrive there
in
there'll
the
be 3 or
system.
more vehicles ahead of you? So I'm not sure if you guys covered this in class, but the formula for probability is
Okay, so the probability that there will be 3 or more vehicles ahead of you, we know that probability with x being more than 3 equals 1 minus the probability that there's 1 vehicle plus the probability that there's 2 vehicles plus the probability that there's 0
the
vehicles.
probability that there will be 3 or more vehicles ahead of you. You know that probability with x more than 3 equals 1 minus the
Okay, so we start with calculating when n equals 1. So p x equals 1 will equal 1 minus to the power of 1, which equals when n equals 2.
when n equals 1.
Equals and we do the same for 3. Oh, sorry, for 0. It's 1 minus 10 over 12. 12 to the power of 0. Okay, so therefore the probability that x is bigger than or equal to 3 is just 1 minus 0.1389 minus 0.157 minus 7, which equals 5787, 57.87%.
So therefore the probability that x is bigger than or equal to 3 is just 1 minus
I think different professors have different formulas. I haven't heard. Wait, hold on. Let me just. Yeah. Okay, so that concludes everything that I have to cover here. So you're free to leave, and anyone who has any questions can come up to me. So I know you do, and you.
So for that,
Yeah.
our instructor has these kind of formula, which is
Okay, so that
I actually haven't seen McCormick. Who's your
oh, I think it's a guy who was Indian, but he has this French accent.
Okay, I don't.
Like I think it's a neutron. Where's the formula? Oh, it's here because it's exponential distribution. So it means like probability that a is smaller than 3. In that case, it would be 3. So could it be possible to plug 3 into here?
I've never seen that formula
One
before.
minus f.
Do you want to try, see if it's the same
Maybe
answer?
I will
I've never
try.
even seen that formula.
And also for our instructor, he said IS is just equals to lambda over u, which is the utilization.
Okay, what I have for you can do that.
because what he said is 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 equals to the utilization rate, which is lambda over u. So I'm agreeing with you.
Utilization. Okay, IS is equal to average number of customers being served.
Yeah, average number. So for in that case, it's because there's only one server, right? So
Oh, I
either-
know. I think it's right because if you factor this,
So if you factor,
I think it's the same as what we said.
so the answer is different.
Over like the answer is different.
You sure this is right?
Yeah, I'm sure this is right. That's so different.
Because he said because there's only one server, so either 1 or 0. So because the utilization rate is 2, right? So the probability that there would be one customer would be the probability times 1 plus 1 minus p times 0, because either there's one customer or there's 0 customer. So what he said is, so actually the TS, IS is actually the probability times there will be one customer, one probability there will be 0 customer.
I'm just
So,
this is how I look at it. So I've never seen which formulas you use, so I'm not sure.
yeah, well, the uploading
Yeah, these are the formulas.
So basically we're trying to get TS, right? TS, then formula here. Right? Our instructor said IS is just equals to utilization rate, right? Yeah, I didn't learn those at all. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, IS is equals
Oh, sorry, you need
Oh, yeah, you need to.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
right?
turn it off.
Okay.
Yeah, I even did it. I thought about it too. Well, I mean, it's close. I just don't know that close. Yeah.
I think on the exam, if you just have the right formula with the right numbers, Okay, and I remember your question. Okay, so let me read this. Which takes 5 minutes to complete. One worker does all 4 tasks. 4 workers working in parallel.
I'm gonna sell it later.
Okay, so you know for labor skills, this one is low, this one is high, right? So low is referring to this one, right? Because it's only 5 minutes. This is because in a flow shop, they're doing very specialized tasks. So everyone has like a specialization. Like worker 1 is doing this, worker B is doing this, worker 3, worker 4. Then we have job shop, engineer load is high. So it's referring